Welcome to the Creative Ascension Podcast. If you're looking for a space to fit in, this ain't it. This is a space for the ones who were never meant to. You know who you are, the rebel light leaders, the artists, the conscious parents, the soul-led entrepreneurs, and the unnicheable modern mystics. The ones who feel it in their bones that there's another way to live, lead, and create. Here, leadership isn't a strategy, it is embodied. Creativity is not a skill, it's your life force, and your life itself becomes art. This is where we break from conformity and really return to sovereign self-expression, where business is an ascension pathway. The body becomes the anchor, and your creative power becomes that thing that sets you free. The Creative Ascension Podcast explores embodied leadership, spiritual entrepreneurship, and conscious creation for the visionary leaders building the new earth. Each week, we dive into raw, real, and activating conversations with the ones who are walking it. The artists, the builders, the disruptors, the cosmic architects of the new paradigm. The ones like you who are choosing truth over approval, freedom over safety, and expression over perfection. I'm Debbie Lim, creative, visual alchemist, new earth artist, and this is your reminder, your body is the canvas, your frequency is the paintbrush, and your life is the masterpiece waiting to be lived. Welcome to Creative Ascension. And this conversation feels like it's going to be a real juicy, deep dive into the land, into the potent, powerful wahine toa that walk this beautiful land, this God's own country that I'm so blessed to live in, Aotearoa, New Zealand. So welcome to the amazing Tia Healey. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce today's guest. She is a wildly embodied soul, a fierce and flowing woman of nature, and an alchemist of movement, wisdom, and deep body knowing. Tia is an embodied, wild, wise woman, a somatic dance teacher, 5 rhythms dancer, rongoa practitioner, movement lover, and passionate advocate for embodiment. Oh, that actually gave me the chills. She weaves spirit, wairua, and body tinana through potent somatic soundscapes, guiding others into deep body awareness, awakening, dismantling, and integrating many facets of self. What began as making herbal balms for fun evolved into native healing herbals, a thriving nature-rooted business. Tia leads workshops for adults and school groups on the wisdom of the body, plant medicine, natural remedies, and ancestral healing. She's a woman deeply devoted to nature, to the cycles of the earth, and to the innate intelligence within our bodies. She's here to remind us of our own power to heal, restore, and transform. Tia, you are speaking my language, woman. I am so excited to have you here. So thank you so much for being here,
Thanks for having me.
sharing this wisdom with us. You've got obviously just got so much to offer the world at this time, a time where we're seeing so many people coming home to the body, waking up to this magical, mystical thing, this meat suit that we walk around in that, in past generations, many of us have become so disconnected from. Certainly that was my journey, and my biggest journey home was in and through the body. So really excited to hear about your journey today. And you've had quite a story. I really enjoyed reading your form, and you can just tell that you're someone that's walked a pretty gnarly, shall we say, path of initiation, as many of us do, right? We call ourselves light workers, but it's often a walk through the shadows for a really long time. So, where would you like to start? Do you want to share a little bit about your story and how you came to be the embodiment of all of this beautiful magic that you bring to
Yeah,
the world now?
yeah. It's it's an interesting one, this story, because it's like, how do you sum up? I mean, 48 years old, how do you sum up 48 years? Like there was a question that you asked about what were some sort of moments in your life that were pivotal to setting you into this sort of pathway. And it's all of it. Like there's so many. It's from like the moment of birth as a prem baby taken from her mum all the way through to where I am now has been this kind of constant moments of disconnection and darkness and pulling back again, and disconnection and darkness and pulling back again. And I often sort of say to people when I'm holding spaces now that I have traveled all of these places within myself and gone to the deepest, darkest points of what I'm feeling, whether it's humiliation or shame or rage or complete hopelessness. And I've felt those feelings and I've put a stake in it with a candle on the end and I've tracked my way back out again. So when I'm standing in front of people or I'm moving in spaces, I have this network of pathways in me. That
Mm.
means that when I'm standing there, I'm a map for people. So when they go into their places, there's an indication of how they can find their way back out again. So I'm really, all of the things now make sense to me. And I'm so grateful for each of those really shitty, dark experiences because now I can understand how they have reshaped me and formed me to be where I am now, able to not do anything for other people, but just be there as a map for them.
Yes.
So um, it's kind of like pick and choose what pathways, and what that means is that when I'm with a group of people, there's so many facets for whatever they're experiencing. Um, So it's sort of like growing up in Kaitaia in the far north, and I was surrounded by bush. So my kind of anchoring and grounding as a kid was being in Ngāhere. Whenever anything was going on, I went bush and sort of really at the time I didn't know it. Now I know I was constantly reconnecting and recalibrating myself by being in nature. It was my favorite place to be. I would, whatever emotion was going on, whether it was fun with my cousins, we would go bush. Whether I was wanting to have a cry, there was a big gnarly puriri tree that I would go and sit in. If I was feeling lonely, we had a stand of kahikatea trees with an eel that was our pet, and so I would just go and sit with him, and he would sort of slither up his head on the bank, and really beautiful way of growing
Mm.
and feeling really, really safe in that environment with my siblings and my mum and dad. And um, yeah, it was really nourishing for me. Like I struggled with the kind of school and bullying and sort of fitting in, but I would be at home and there would be the animals and the plants, and that was my sort of nervous system restoration.
Amazing.
It didn't prepare me for life though. So going out into the world,
What
not being
does?
prepared for bumping up against, addicts and narcissists and abusers and all these things that I then had to traverse into. And I was just blindsided because life had felt very, very beautiful and safe and nourishing for me. And I
Mm.
was very innocent in um, I just had no idea that people could come in and fuck you over. Like I was
Yeah.
just like, why would someone lie about things? So in hindsight, I can understand that my intuition was always there, but I didn't know how to hear that because I'd never had experiences as a kid where I'd had to necessarily notice intuition or the absence of it. So going out as a teenager and a young adult, it was yeah, it was a lot of really hard, painful experiences of denying my intuition and my inner knowing when it came to meeting up against humans. When it came to being in nature, absolutely, I knew what plants I needed to use, how I needed to blend them. Um, I've created my business mostly from intuition. And then 12 years ago, I created a whole range of new earth essences. And that was journeying with all different plants, animals, Um, and yeah, so my intuition in that respect and my knowing and my instinct was spot on, but when it came to humans, I just that was my hardest lesson was navigating other human dynamics. And
Wow.
yeah, that was pain. That was the most painful experiences came through there. So nature has always had my back. I've always felt 100% supported, clear communication. Um, Humans, not so much.
There's always such an incredible alignment when we meet and have these conversations, right? So yesterday I was on a call, um, which really was all about the power of innocence
Mm,
and to liberate us. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I could see throughout my whole life all of the ways in which I've let myself be maybe gaslit by the expectations of society or what's considered acceptable behavior by the humans.
yeah.
Um, and very had a lot of similar experiences to you, like reading through your key initiations around, like just, to warn our viewers, we are going to talk about, there's addiction, there's suicidal ideation and all sorts of things like that, which, you may or may not share today. But I was looking at it and I was like, at your story, and I saw a lot of myself in there. And even in that, recognizing that those are things that I don't really own or put out there that much because it's that old like, oh, but I'm okay kind of thing. Like it's life, and I've done a lot of work on this kind of stuff like you. So what I see when like you speak into that is I just see this beautiful, pure, innocent soul, this like fairy child that's like deeply connected on so many levels that she doesn't even realize. And you were just open-hearted and innocent, and you go out into the world and it's like walking into an alien land sometimes, isn't
Totally.
it? Because you just, and I wrote this on a social media post last week. It's like I'm constantly floored when people choose to get me wrong and get all upset about things because I just don't think like that. I assume people have good intentions. So I don't go
Mm,
and think the worst of them without asking them or having a conversation or whatever. And I was like, and this is really exciting because that's actually the thing that we've, like our innocence has been made to be like a weakness, and it's not. It's actually a superpower for birthing the new earth. Um, and so I also really love the way you talk about the lights in the road map. Because for me, it's like, you can go and do all the certificates in the world. I don't care what certificates you have on your wall, right? If I'm going to trust you to hold me through a rebirthing process of any kind, I can feel that in that person's field. That's
yeah.
how I know I'm in the hands of a safe space holder. And your experience will just match that, right? So your people that come into your space, they will go deep because they can feel that you have gone deep.
Yeah.
And that's it, right? It's like if
Yeah.
we're not going to do our shadow work, if we're not going to be deeply honest about what we've traversed, then people are going to have kind of surface level
Yeah.
experiences in our
Yeah.
space.
Absolutely.
So you've painted a real like visual for me there that I love that they have actually got a map to.
And it is something that I've had to learn to kind of be aware of because I can go into spaces and what I consider like we're just going to sit on the surface is actually really, really deep for people. And I'm like, oh, fuck. They, I'm going, oh, we're just sitting on the surface and they're bottoming. And so I have to be really aware of um because of what I've experienced and where my frequency is at is that I can amplify and activate. And so I hold that really responsibly. Like if people are going to go into like I would not intentionally in a group ever take people to the depth that I've gone to because I know how
No.
far that is.
Oh, yeah, no.
But even when I'm like, let's just surface, just let's go just below the surface, it's still really, really deep for a lot of people. So I'm really aware of that and I hold that really responsibly. Like I don't want to put someone into a state of chaos
Yeah.
or into a massive activation that they don't have the capacity to come out of on their own. I've I've had that happen to myself and experiences where leaders have go, oh, we're going to drop you in here, and then I'm left floundering.
Yeah.
Like I
And
had
then they
a
leave you there. Well, it's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
let's rip that wound open.
yeah,
And they feel powerful. This is what it
yeah,
is, right? They're getting a
yeah.
little bit of an ego
Oh,
kick out of
totally,
it.
totally.
Oh, we're so powerful. Everyone's screaming and crying and unraveling. And then like the session is finished.
Yeah, yeah. And then I've spent 2 years in a state of frickin' chaos, having to rebuild myself. Um, and now I can be really, really grateful for those because that rebuilding was really, really pivotal to me stopping the out there in the light and love and light world. And I got sent on this full like descend into your body. And it was 12 years ago. So year of the snake, 12 years ago. And I I just everything that I had been learning, studying, experiencing, which was all about ascension, 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 just got flipped. And the only message I got was, it's all wrong, descend, descend,
Mm,
descend. And this was at a time, so 2012, when everyone was sort of going into the like, the Gregorian calendar is flipping and it's the end of the world and the new earth. And so it was all this like, bring in the light and ascend. And suddenly my whole being is going, nah, it's back to front. You have to descend. There was nobody talking about that. And I was just going, what? I'm going into hell. I'm descending down. Like what? And
yes.
it was
You're ahead of your
really,
time.
really, yeah, it was petrifying for me. It was absolutely terrifying, and I didn't know what was happening to my body. My body was having these sort of seizures, like these shaking things. I was in
Yeah.
constant fear. I thought I was dying. My family thought I was dying. They sent me
And
to a doctor to get, tests and all sorts because I was just like, I don't know what's wrong with me. All I know is that these waves of fear and whatever, and I'm shaking, and
mm,
I couldn't do anything. I couldn't light a candle. I couldn't drum my drum. I couldn't pick up an oracle card. The only thing I could do was be outside barefoot in my veggie garden and hardcore exercise, like CrossFit, intense
get the
exercise.
energy up. Man, I really resonate with what you're saying. I mean, I was really lucky in that when I started awakening, I came across a coach who was all about this. It was all about the body. It was about the bones. It was about descending to ascending. So I was like brought in on that. But I had experienced 2 or 3 years of complete discombobulation
Mm,
before that with, yes, said light leader that was all like getting a kick out of fucking me up, really, so she
yeah,
could put me
yeah,
back together.
yeah,
um, and yeah, yes, feeling like I was dying, like I got sent for brain scans at
yeah,
one point, like
yeah,
the things that were happening in my body were out the gate. And what I know now, or what I've tapped into, is that it seems to be for those of us that are really in this, we take this deep underworld kind of journey, and it's like an inner earth. When we connected in with this inner earth realm, it feels like massive anxiety. It feels like you're having an earthquake up your spine
yeah,
every morning.
yeah,
It feels like, and luckily now I've got people going, oh yeah, that's that. And I'm like, oh,
yeah, yeah,
oh, okay,
yeah,
cool. So I can now journey with that. I can work with that. But yeah, I've heard people that have been like you in the game longer going, it's almost, and there's still quite a lot of that going on, like love and light stuff. Like I've disconnected from so many groups online because
yeah,
it's almost like they're waiting for the second coming of Jesus. It's like, well, I don't have to do my work anymore because like the golden age is coming and it's going to save me and I'm just going to be a flash of light and then we're all going to be happy. And I'm like, oh my God. And I'm
yeah,
paraphrasing a lot, but that's the gist of it. And I'm like,
yeah,
ugh, no, it
yeah,
doesn't work
yeah.
like that.
I got really, really kind of fucked over by that because I adhered to it so deeply.
Mm,
And just this constant like um, work on myself. And if I just do the work, then
mm,
I will live in utopia. And if this shitty thing's happening, it must be me. I must be
yes.
attracting it. So there's something else I have to do. And there's something else, and there's something else. And I ripped myself to pieces, like
Yeah.
absolutely ripped myself to pieces. And part of that descent was, like absolutely, and I didn't know how to shut myself down. I thought I was protecting, and I just wasn't. And well, not to the degree that I needed to. And when I went fall down into that and started to slow. It took 2 years, like 6 months of thinking I was going to die, and 2 years before I was like, okay, I'm stable. And by that stage, I was like, I will never touch anything energetic or out there ever again. But, I have a business that when I'm making my balms, I'm connecting with the plants. So I started to miss those things. Like I really want to go and just feel that communion with the plants again. And so it was this picking the bits out of the rubble that were true for me,
Mm,
not wrapped up in this whole container of new age stuff and spirituality and coaching and healing, and just pulling each of those tiny little grains and going, this is mine. This was always mine. And I'm going to start to rebuild myself with those foundations. And it took a few years. And then I ended up at a Five Rhythms retreat with a woman called Gina Chick from Australia, and it was called Heart of the Huntress. And the first dance I did with her, my body started to shake, and I hadn't had that happen for about 4 years. And I just went, "Oh no!" And then I have so much trust in her, like she's like a mountain of a woman. I just went, "I'll be okay, Gigi, will keep me alive." And I let my body shake, and I cried, and I went into this. My vision was pixelating, and I came through it and realized, that's something. And then when she spoke to me about five rhythms and how the energies move through your body when you follow a wave with music and the frequency that she holds, I realized my body was doing something back then. And
mm,
every dance I would have this like I can't control it. My body just does this thing. And I started to really understand that my body has always known what it was doing. I didn't know, and I was trying to intervene, and it must be this and it must be that, and redirecting it. But actually, my body knew what it was doing. And um, she actually spoke to that kind of spontaneous Kundalini awakening, and how without guidance through that, it can feel like your body has been fried. And that's what I felt like. I'd been plugged into an electric socket. So it gave me a kind of concept of like, oh, that was a thing. And then from there, so that was sort of 7 years ago, I've just moved more and more towards, okay, my body knew what it was doing. I was already doing this dance thing. I would always just put on music and let my body move whatever emotions I was feeling. I've done that my whole life. And now I had this framework for, it's a thing. And so I just kind of went with that, and I did a lot of retreats and training with her. And then I found somatic dance here in New Zealand, and that's very similar, and did those trainings. And now what's happened is I've gone, okay, now put together those kind of containers, which gave me confidence again, and bring all of the stuff that now I realize, all my true stuff, and
mm.
integrate that together so that I'm running these kind of gatherings and dances and stuff that are beyond just what those structured trainings offer, and bringing all of my stuff into it as well. So we get this really beautiful kind of combo of my experiences and some structure, and having really, really beautiful things emerging from that.
Beautiful. I love it when we get to that space of, to me, that's, one of the true definitions of embodiment, isn't it? It's like we awaken, we feel like we're being ripped apart, we feel like we are dying because we literally are.
Yeah,
We're
yeah,
rebirthing, but
exactly.
we're still
Yeah,
alive. So let's just normalize that feeling. And it's so
mm,
important, I will just say, because this is going up public, that we have the right kind of support around us at
yeah,
that time.
absolutely. Yeah,
So, we're not meant to go through that alone. That can actually be really quite dangerous. And,
yeah,
for you, I ended up, suicidal under a Purakawa tree. And thank God for the tree, really, because I think that spoke to me that day. But, had doing my time over, I would have gone. It's hard to help yourself in that space, isn't it? Really, it's
yeah,
quite hard to actually
yeah,
recognize where you're at. But
yeah.
finding help and surrounding yourself with good people that are qualified, that are safe space holders. Can't.
Yeah, yeah, because I didn't have anyone who understood that, and I have 4 children, so I was trying to navigate that.
Yeah,
Like,
life is going on.
I want to die. I can't keep being me, and those
Yeah.
moments of going into that, I had one day where I went out of my body so far out, and I could hear my youngest playing in the hallway. He was like 2 years old, and just thinking he'll be better off without me because I'm a
Mm.
fucking mess.
Yeah.
My kids will be better off without me. They will get over this somehow because what they're living with now, seeing me in this state, me not being here will be better for them. And that's now, like, it took me a lot of years to really move through how much guilt I had around that. Like, what
Mm.
sort of mother will leave her kids? And I genuinely, in that state, was like, they will be better. Their lives will be better without seeing me in this absolute insanity. Like, it was like,
Well, you get to that point,
yeah,
don't you, where it's like you can't hold yourself, so how can you
yeah.
hold anyone else? And that is the greatest initiation for powerful space holding. But in that space, I know that I remember that feeling. I don't want to remember it, but it's not a nice place to be in. And what we're trying to do really is just escape the pain that we're
Oh,
in, right? It's
absolutely.
like we
Yeah,
don't really want to exit the world, otherwise we would.
yeah,
Let's just
yeah.
call it what it is. Like if you really wanted to, you would, right? So and I love this conversation. We need to have more of these. Same as you, I grew up in a town called Waiuku out here in South Auckland, and yes,
Mm,
suicide off the charts. There's all sorts of theories about the land being cursed, and
yeah.
who knows, we have a lot of accidents as well. But yeah, growing up around that, having that very intimately woven through my own story, like yeah, I knew that was not an option, but I do remember lying there, like casting up to the stars, and I didn't know anything about galactics or my connection to that at that time, but I was really looking like way out to space, just going like, this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah,
Get me
yeah,
out of here.
absolutely.
I want to escape, but trying to escape the body. So you kind of would just sounds like dissociating, going right out there, because it's
Yeah,
so interesting what we're doing. For me, it was like locking down
yeah,
and like locking down, like I had heavy metal overload. I was numb. I couldn't even feel
yeah,
my body because I wasn't
yeah,
didn't want to truly feel. So
yeah.
that was, yeah, the power of coming back home through the body.
Mm.
Oh, what
Yeah, I did
what
both.
a
I would
journey.
go really, really deep into depressions where I literally was numb. And then other times where it was like, okay, I'm just getting out of here. Yeah. Really, really, it makes me sad now the amount of time. Like now I'm really like every day is so precious to me. Like I just want to make the most of every day. And I'm like, oh, all those years, like, doctors diagnose it as anxiety, depression, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigue. And now I just understand life was too hard. Like there was just so one thing after the other, after the other, after the other. And um I didn't understand, like you can do everything you can to regulate your nervous system, but when you're in dysfunctional environments and you're constantly butting up against more and more of those toxic people and situations, it's like you just don't get a chance to recover. So your
Mm,
nervous system is constantly doing that thing, then the next one, then the next one, then the next one. And now I understand it because I now don't have all of those things going on, and I can really recognize how to regulate myself and what I need to do, and knowing I was always doing that, but there was just so much that I was having to counterbalance. It wasn't that I was failing at resourcing myself, it's that I was constantly being tapped into and depleted and overpowered. And yeah, it's like all things, it's taught me a lot, and
yeah.
I now am really, really good at spotting people, feeling the energies, removing myself, saying no, doing all the things that I just couldn't do earlier because I just needed to go through them before I could
Mm,
um yeah, sort of access that in terms of it's literally in my body now. I can feel this rather
yeah.
than a concept that I've learned or
Lived experience and constantly, I think for people like you and me, because I'm kind of just like, why do we keep going? There's something within us, right? It's that innocence, I think, that we were tapping into right at the start, where your human might be making up all these stories about like, why does this keep happening? There must be something
mm,
wrong with me. But there's a part of you that knows that that this is
yeah,
all for a higher purpose. There's some unshakable faith there somewhere that keeps
yeah,
you
yeah.
like trucking forward, which is so powerful, right? That's such a power that we hold. So I really want to celebrate you for your journey and the light that you carry now, because I truly believe that the more, it's not that we have to keep suffering in this, we have to have a hard life in order to be a powerful light worker, but those that have, I observe, have this real power, this presence, this mana, if you want to call it that. Like they do become like a
Mm.
mountain. It's like the
Yeah,
more. I was at a retreat earlier this year. They were talking about anchoring light, and people were like, "What does that mean? How do you do that?" And I'm talking about the pathway of ascension. And I put my hand up, and I was like, "Well, I see it like this: is that every time that you come up your ascension spiral, right? And you might be jumping timelines and doing all sorts of things, but you will meet the same stuff again and again. Let's face it, in a different configuration.
yeah,
And then you've got the opportunity to grow from that, right? And it's going to highlight yet another shadow. You end up going down into the root chakra and sorting that out and anchoring into, okay, now I can feel safe around that. And then you go back up
yeah,
again. And what it does is it builds this massive base. You
yeah,
become like that mighty tree with the huge root structure, right? And
yeah,
because the whole time I've been talking to you, like my lower legs are just tingling off the
yeah,
charts. I know I'm in the presence of a powerful woman who's anchored into that safety and stability. So, yeah. And I think, it's funny, life only gives us what we can handle, right?
yeah. And
Remember
I
that.
hated that. Really, like,
Yeah, you're
stop
like,
fucking giving me stuff.
I'm not. You've got it all wrong. I'm not
Yeah,
that strong.
I can't handle it.
But yeah, so amazing. And I
Yeah,
love that you always stay connected to the plants. I think that's
yeah,
it. It's like there's always that one thing, isn't it? For me, it's been nature over and over again in different ways.
yeah.
So I call it my spiritual oil awakening because somebody handed me some essential oils and that's what kicked it all off.
Mm,
The purest essential oils that you can get your hands on, and getting that, it was nature really that started like purging whatever it was that I was holding within my
yeah,
body and bringing it to the surface.
yeah,
No idea what was happening. Um,
yeah,
and they've just been my go-to, like it's
yeah,
been 10 or more years. I've never stopped. And then, all the other yeah,
yeah,
tinctures and magical potions that people make. And now, being on the land, I've got like a little forest. So I'm so, so lucky that anytime I feel discombobulated, it's so easy. Shoes off,
yeah,
feet on the earth,
yeah,
go down to the trees,
yeah,
rest on the rocks, and just
yeah,
remember that I'm actually really safe in this moment in nature.
yeah, yeah. And I've worked really, really hard on our land here to really create that sanctuary. And when people turn up here, they're just immediately like, oh, I feel safe. And often people will just like, why do I feel like crying? And I'm like, because your nervous system is now going, okay, let's release some cortisol, let's drop into what we're feeling. Um, yeah, and it's, I've had times where it hasn't felt safe. Like okay, we're going into the addiction thing. I have a daughter who was a meth addict for 5 years, and so we had at times it would feel really unsafe being here because she was associating with gangs. And when people are using meth, their soul is disconnected from their body, and the entities attached to that are horrific. Like I've always moved entities, and the ones that I had to deal with in this time frame were just hideous. So to have those coming into my space, it was like, what? But I'm shielding, I'm protecting, and this is still entering. It up leveled me. Like to be able to meet those types of energies was a whole nother realm of how do I protect? How do I shield? How do I get them off my property, off my daughter, out of our space, over and over and over. So it was this sort of 5 year long training
Mm,
that just nothing else could have possibly tested me, prepared me, or um, initiated me into those particular realms. And having said that, my hardest experience has still been my own insanity. But seeing your child go through this stuff and, you know, suicide attempts that I found, like cutting a cord from around her, throat,
wow.
and the times where there was overdoses and we're in hospital with her, and just this really, really heavy stuff. And amongst that was this kind of just navigating each and every moment and meeting it where it was at, because there's no structure or rules. And I did courses like how to support addicts, how to prevent relapse, how to tough love. She went through the whole mental health and addictions services, the hospitals, which I did not want her to do, but she went there, and psychiatric wards and all sorts of things. And that was really, really horrific to see how absolutely fucked those systems are.
Mm.
Um, so there was this like, man, she's doing this and I can't get her off this track. So now how am I going to be alongside this? And that's where a lot of those places of going to the darkest rage and the darkest humiliation and the darkest fear and the darkest, like, my baby's going to die and I'm planning her funeral. And um those those were some of the deepest, darkest places I went. And she's been 11 months clear, so she removed herself and she has done the work herself. So she has gone fully into this embodiment, putting herself through breathwork processes,
Mm.
unlocking her own traumas, working with her body. Like, I can't even say I'm proud of her. Proud is not the word. I'm in awe of her,
Yeah, I
like
was gonna say, I heard
absolute
awe,
awe
like,
of her. Like, she just blows my mind, because I couldn't
God, now I'm
see
gonna
how,
cry. That's
yeah,
amazing.
I was like, I don't know how she's gonna recover from the darkness that she
Yeah. And
experienced during
so many
that.
don't, it's this kind of it's like this undercurrent here in Aotearoa, right? In New Zealand, it's like we look like on the outside this kind of perfect nation a little bit, but
Yeah,
not. We got
yeah,
racism, we've got
yeah,
addiction, we've got
yeah,
terrible mental health, we've got
yeah,
terrible domestic violence, and
yeah,
let's just own that. And often, and then we've got so many freaking powerful light workers
yeah,
birthing out of it. Full body chills now.
yeah.
So gosh, your daughter, what an amazing path. And so what's the word? Whew. Yeah, just absolutely sitting in the light with you both and holding that
Mm,
vision
yeah,
of health and recovery for her.
yeah,
And God, what an amazing potential lies there for
yeah.
her on the other side.
And when she's sort of talking to me now and she's like, I'm so sorry, Mum. I'm sorry for what I put you through and how much I hurt you. And I'm like, you know what? Can you see me now? And she's like, yeah. And I said, that's because of what we
Mm.
went through. Like, I had to learn how to hold myself, how to say no, how to, and that's the hardest thing, say no to your kid. But it
Mm.
was like, there was times where all I had was a no. And my mama brain going, you can't do that. But my body saying, no, no, today is a no. She does not come to this house today. Or no, you're not driving, 5 hours to go and pick her up today. Or other times where it was like, yes, absolutely, I'm driving 5 hours to pick you up today. So there was this constant dance that I had to do. And because I had been doing so many years of dance by then and really letting my body feel all of the things, I got to a place where I could trust this, even though my mind's going, this doesn't make sense. My
Mm.
body is giving me a very clear move towards, move back, pause, fade away, like it was just this, yeah, it was a dance every moment and not knowing what am I going to meet next, and just having to navigate that next step and that next step and that next step. And I learned so much along the way, so much. Like I said, it up leveled me in a way that no other experience has.
No,
And
is that right? Like walking the
yeah,
path, doing the thing, being thrown into it, and
yeah,
having to learn how to deal with like
yeah,
the energetic realm that you were faced with then. Like, yeah, like we said at the start, no certificate's going to prepare you for that.
no, no,
The
no. So I
University of
get
Life
quite
is harsh.
yeah, yeah, and I get quite defensive or fierce about people who are like, "Oh, we're going to go into Shadowlands," or "I'm going to activate dark feminine," and I'm like, "Do you actually know what you're about to do here?" Because dark feminine is not just a thing that's pull a ugly face and make a guttural sound. Dark feminine is when you're in the dark and you transmute that into something else. That's the key. Like you can go into the dark. If you don't transmute that into something else, then that's not dark feminine. That's putting on a costume and playing out a role. And
Mhm.
yeah, I get really pissed off when I see people just being blasé, because I'm like, that when you actually go there, it's yeah, it
It's hard to put
I
into
don't want to
words.
just yeah, it is. Like
It
it
is
feels
like I
dismissive to go, I'm going to do this thing. It's like,
And I,
mm-mm.
to be honest, I can't imagine going into a workshop or a space where someone says, we're going to go do this. Because to me, those moments, and there's two, well, one key one that's standing up for me where I really met myself there. I had just reached like a point of no return. It was another massive awakening, of course, like I was on the edge of something, but like I was just beside myself and oh my God. But I knew that I had the resources to hold myself well in a space.
Yeah,
And I've got my own processes for transmutation in the depths of that, which
yeah,
is through art. So I told my coach, my family, I was like, I got to go away. I've got to go do this 3 days, 4 days on my own to go and meet all these pieces that I keep letting the busyness of life
yeah,
distract me from, because there's this dark piece of me that's raging in there that's causing me so much physical pain all the time.
yeah,
Like the more success I got, the more pain I felt. And
yeah,
like there was all these programs running about punishment and all the things that we meet. And so we went out to Piha, and it was like right after the big collapse of the land. So that was really interesting because I'm sure there's a whole
mm,
lot coming out of the land as well. Then there
yeah,
was this epic storm. I went down to the beach and it was like a sandstorm because it was so windy. So I was covered in black,
yeah,
howling wind, which I've never heard. And I was like howling into the wind and letting it all out. And I was like, whoa, this is next level.
yeah,
And then, went and used all the tools. Like I say, okay, it's time for me to hold myself like I would hold a client in this same space. And yeah, breath work and just, no phone, nothing to distract, just the ability to feel and hold myself in that space. And yeah, it's funny. I can't really imagine someone else saying, we're going to go activate that in
yeah,
you. It just feels like,
yeah,
good luck with that. I don't think you can. I don't know.
yeah, yeah,
Um, yeah, it's really fascinating, isn't it? And this is, I think, what's becoming really clear for people right now. It's like the smoke and mirrors. What I was hearing last night before bed, so maybe that was tapping into this
mm,
conversation. Is the smoke is clearing, and we've been able
yeah,
to see what is performance now and what is real. And people,
absolutely.
even if they're new to this work, can feel that. Like
Yeah.
everybody's bullshit meters getting
Oh
upgraded,
yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah,
really good.
yeah.
Um, Oh my gosh, what an incredible journey that you've had. And just to tap back into as you're speaking about like the entities and the things that, when the soul leaves the body, and that
Mm,
we create that break and that opening that happens through, you know, abandonment of self, through whatever, through trauma, through drugs, alcohol. Um, it's actually quite a terrifying space to be in. So
yeah.
you just must have so much courage. I'd love to know how you held yourself through that. Like recently, I was in America and we were walking around on the streets in a very nice city. It's a very it was like a um, area where there was a lot of commerce and stuff, and the streets were all tidy and clean. Except there was a train station right where we were staying, which are always interesting gateways. And there were these people, like homeless people and drug addicts around, and they kept kind of coming into our space. And they would either be like really openly, emotionally
Mm,
super happy and euphoric, or really aggressive. And I also see people go from one to the other and like that and start attacking
yeah.
people. And like we got chased across the street. And I said to the person I was with, what is this? Like, I have not felt this
Mm,
before. These people look like they're possessed. And she's like, this is fentanyl, Deb.
yeah, yeah,
Welcome to America. And I was like,
yeah,
holy,
yeah,
this is bad.
yeah. Yep. And that is exactly what it is. It is possessed. And I've met a lot of people who have family members who are on meth, and it's rampant up here in the far north. And the words they always use is, it's like they're possessed. It's like they're
Mm,
possessed. And it's like, yeah, it is, because they literally, the entity, I wrote a phenomenal I didn't write it. I channeled a phenomenal poem about methamphetamine, and it kept coming at me and coming at me and coming at me. And I was like, I don't want to write this because I'm going to have to tap in. And eventually, 3 o'clock in the morning, after months of just hearing these two particular lines, I was like, going to have to do it because I knew I was going to meet the entity of meth. And
Mm.
um, it's ugly. It is ugly. And what I see now is that methamphetamine is kind of a symbolism for the whole kind of patriarchal. It's a suppression of the feminine energy. So every time there's this rising of the feminine, and I'm not even really comfortable with the words patriarchy and feminism anymore. I just don't have a better word for it yet. But activation of something else, the entity of methamphetamine crushes that down, and it will literally break people in order to keep them down. So the ones that are rising out of it are the ones who have this, like that energy is bigger than. Um, Particularly what I've seen with women who are using is it just crushes everything that's feminine. It separates them from their children. It destroys that kind of like safety and protection for self and for body. It just it just destroys people. It destroys all of that energy that can create a new earth. And so it's this blanketing of anything that is a shift towards a new energy. And yeah, so it's the entities and everything that are with it. It was, I mean, that, yeah, like I said, that's what tested me. It was like, how am I going to meet these uglier, bigger, more um, sneaky, like the ways that I would deal with entities usually wouldn't work. So I had to come up with other ways. And what I really did was the different energies that I was dealing with, I would have to really feel, okay, what do I need here? Do I need to be more like fire, or do I need to be more like earth, or do I need water or wind? Like I would take the essence of those different elements, and then how do I activate that in my body and then use that against something that might be sticky. So if you're trying to put water on something that's sticky, it's not going to work. But if you can freeze it and then the bits crack off, or if you've got, yeah, so it was like, how do I, and I was constantly having to make it up on the spot.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even use the same thing with the next thing. It was like, oh, what am I going to do with this one? And um, like you're saying, it felt really hard for you to be in that environment. I guess, and to be honest, if I could have not been there, I 100% would not have been there. Like I really, there was times where, because it's in other areas of my family as well, where I would just have nothing to do with my family because I'm like, I just don't want to do anymore. But when it's your child, like I'm like, how do I turn away from this?
I love there's so many bits in there because first of all, it feels like you're tapping back into the ancient knowledge of
Mm,
um I guess transmutation or alchemy
yeah.
because they used it across so many, from building the pyramids to healing to all the things, which is from what I've researched and understand is that they did this through mastery of the elements,
Yeah.
through remembering that they are a part of the element and that when they merge, there's like a merging of the self back into the oneness, which
Mm,
is love, right?
yeah.
Which is the most powerful force of all, and then bringing that through to clear that. And I love that. That's exactly how I work too. I've not been instructed a lot
Yeah.
on how to do stuff, and it's made me such a powerful energy healer because I hand it over and I'm like, what do I need here?
Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
we do with this?
Absolutely.
And I allow
Yeah.
myself to be shown.
Yeah.
And then I have been shown, like I've never been sort of taught about entities or energy clearing and haven't really focused a lot of my own energy on that. But I love this is really, you're the first person I've heard say that this patriarchal energy looks like this entity that comes through there because that's what I've seen, not working with drug addicts, but
Mm,
oftentimes when there's a deep suppression in a person, and I've only worked with women, it is shown to me the patriarchal energy like an entity. It's like this
yeah.
big black octopus thing, and often will like come and suck onto like the big powerhouse organs in the body and just
Yeah.
be like draining this person's life force and really twisting the way that they see themselves in the world a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and is it also the final part there was just like you didn't have the choice because this is your daughter, this is your baby.
Mm.
Are we talking about like the ultimate power of aroha,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
And to be honest, there was times where I was like, I wish I didn't love her. Like this would be easy if I didn't love her. I could just shut that door and walk away. But that it's like, how do you not?
mm,
How do you not? And yeah, it was, I mean, there was a lot of anger and hatred and rage and all sorts of things that came with that. And that's hard as well to be like, I hate who she is right now. Like that's really hard as a mum to be like, there's my beautiful baby, and now I don't even recognize this person, but there's something in there, like in your umbilicus in your womb that's like, but that's my baby. And
mm,
so it would just be this sort of like regroup, and now we're back in again. And sometimes it would be weeks that I needed, and then it's like, and now we do the next wave, we do the next round, and literal times of that anchoring that we were talking about, of like holding my roots down into the very core of the earth because she's going to die if I don't. And
mm,
there's nothing I can do for her right now, but if I anchor, then the part of her that's attached to me will stay here. And she would come home and say, Mum, I nearly died. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And she's like, and I just kept going, Mum will help me, Mum will help me. Just follow the light, and I'll find my way back. Mum will help me. And I'm 5 hours away from her and had woken up in the morning just like, oh fuck, she's dying. Anchor down, that's all I can do. And she's, up here, and she just, Mum will help me get home. She had taken some drugs that had popped her out and she couldn't find her way back. So there was all these things between her and I that just have blown my mind over and over and over, like the energetic connection between us and that soul thing. That's like, this is a journey that we're both doing that is so far beyond these two human bodies. And yeah, it's yeah, like I said, like it grew me in ways that nothing else ever could.
yeah, the Earth
Yeah,
School, there's nothing
yeah,
like it.
yeah.
Wow, what an incredible, incredible story. Because I think you know, one of the biggest challenges we have with our kids or our family or people that we really love when they're in crisis is holding our center and our sovereignty and also honoring theirs as well. So how
Mm.
did you navigate that dance between like doing all that you could, but also being surrendered to it's not I don't know how to put it into words. It's like it's not my job to save her, but it's like it's my job to save. So it's
Yeah,
almost like
yeah,
you've got the polarity of both there, right?
yeah,
Because if we take that all into our own being, then they can't heal.
yeah,
So how did you honor her sovereignty? Like you
yeah,
said in the end, like she's chosen it now and
yeah,
she that's now how she's
yeah.
accessing
It
healing.
really was just a building on, like, when she first started, it was like, I talk to therapists, and I'd, do like supporting people on meth programs and things like that. And so I outsourced to other people, and then the only information I really got from that was that there's no right or wrong way to do this, and it gave me someone to talk to every week. Like, man, this is going on. No one had any answers. Like, no one had any answers. There was no answers. So as each thing would happen, it would be like, I'm going to try this. Well, that didn't work. Well, I'll try this. Well, that didn't work. So in my mind, nothing was working because she was still using. So it really, I hit a point because I'd had that kind of breakdown 12 years ago. I was like, I can't ever get like that again. And I could feel myself getting so depleted that that first experience was like, nah, you've got to stop now. You've got to find some way to disengage from this. And that was the hardest part, was that first initial disengaging, which meant like turning my phone off at night so I couldn't get 3 a.m. phone calls. And really, and again, it was just that feeling each thing, like she may die tonight because I didn't have my phone on, and then just having to lie there and go, she might die tonight, and literally lie in bed and wail for hours and hours and hours, and let my body feel all the things of like she's going to die because I've turned my phone off. And then the next night I'd have it again, but it'd be a little bit less, and then the next night a little bit less. So it was
But you were
just this
gifting her her
building.
own
Yeah,
sovereignty in those
yeah,
moments, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
that's our biggest challenge as
yeah, yeah.
sensitives
And
and empaths,
it's,
isn't
yeah,
it?
just the some days I'd be like, today was a good day. I did the right thing. And then other days I'll just be like, I have no idea. I have no idea. And it just, I guess, each step was horrific to begin with. And then the next time it'd be a little bit easier. And I remember one day sitting, and she was in hospital. She'd been beaten up by a gang member and her jaw broken, and she was having surgery. And she'd rung me and said, can you bring me my bag? It's in the end room. Ah, it's my bag that has got my using stuff. So by then she was shooting up. And I sat on the floor and I looked at my partner and I was like, this is fucked. So I was cleaning her bag and pulling out the needles that had blood in them and putting them in the rubbish bin and putting these in here. And I sat there and I went, fuck, look at me. What a progressive mum. Here I am sitting,
Yeah.
sorting out my daughter's needles. But 4 years earlier, finding a needle was like I would just be a wipeout. So
Mm,
I just went, wow, look how far we've come, and how fucked is this that this is my norm now, and I have the resources to be able to do this, and this is what's happening. And I just kind of went, I'm so grateful that there's somewhere she can get clean needles, and that she's got a sharps container so that it doesn't have to go into our rubbish bin. And I just was like, my body was sitting there and my brain's going, what? How did we get to here? But it was the slow, not even slow, it was fast, but it was just the first thing that felt like the end of the world. By the time we're 5 years in, it was like, that's nothing. And so I will hear people talking about things, and for them, it's horrific. And I'm like, that's like child's play. So that's how I managed to get to that place of where's me and where's her, is that there was just so much in it that it would it would be just moments of like, I just literally can't do this anymore. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to pull myself away. I'm going to switch my phone off. I'm not going to give her the money when she asks for it. I'm going to say no to her. I'm not going to pick her up. And those were the bits where it's like, I matter too, because I can't go back to that state that I was 12 years ago, because then my other three kids lose their mum as well. And that
yeah.
was the tricky thing of going, I'm going to choose myself over one of my children, or I'm going to choose my other three children over one of my children. That's what it felt like in my brain, was that I was having to choose one or the other. What I know now is that it was really, really important for her to have those moments where I wasn't there, because then it was put back on her and she had to figure out how to navigate herself through some stuff. Because every time I would clear things from her or rescue her, it meant that she could resource and she could go back out and do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and like you said, I love this conversation because you can see from this that there is no right or wrong. There is no black and white. And isn't this just life? We're all just freaking
Yeah.
figuring it out as we go.
Yeah.
And you're such a shining example of what happens when you learn to deeply trust yourself, your body, and what is right for you. Nobody could, if we zoom out, like the reason probably that the systems around you were so lax is that that was your opportunity to go, well, what's the alternative here? You're the only
Yeah.
one that can really know what is the right choice for you moment to moment to moment. There are no rules in that
Yeah.
game because
Yeah.
people on drugs are so unpredictable.
Right for me often felt like what was opposite for what was right for her. And that was the tricky bit.
Yeah.
Like, what's right
Yes.
for
As a
me is
mum.
now sending her into chaos. And in hindsight now I can be like, yep, we navigated that in the perfect way. And when people are saying to me, what do I do? Do I just cut off? And I'm like, not until you're ready to cut off. Because if
Mm,
you try and fast track this, it's like there'll be a point where you are ready to cut off. There'll be a point where you're ready to step back in, and there's no guidelines or rule for that. And for some people it might be 10 years down the track, and for some it might be 10 weeks down the track. And I'm just like, you literally, there's no prescription here. Like, it's the whole thing that I have seen with so many people that I've come across who are navigating this is it's really about those dynamics between yourself and exactly that, like where's your sovereignty, where's your move together, where's your pull apart, and it creates boundaries in a way that nothing else does
Mm.
because
I love this. This
you
is
have
hilarious
to.
because how's this for timing? Like today at 11 a.m. I'm teaching boundaries inside
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
my 5D Reiki course. And
yeah,
so I was just I'm just thinking maybe we just play them this conversation and be
yeah,
like, this is what this is
yeah,
what we're
yeah,
talking
yeah,
about here.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's really cool because I'm just like when I learned Reiki, it was from a person who was an energetic abuser
Mm.
and would use her powers to basically psychically rape you, rip you
Yeah,
back
yeah,
together. Like it was a great way to learn about boundaries
yeah,
through the shadow. Like that's how I
yeah,
learned about boundaries.
yeah.
Not like, so thank you for that. I think that's the story I need to tell today.
It's the yeah, and that's where you get to enforce them. And the other thing is, my boundaries moved all the
Yes.
time. And I said to her, this must have been confused. Now that we can talk about it, that must have been confusing for you because some days it would be here and some days it would be there. And she just said to me, but Mum, the days that you said yes, you could come home, those were the days where I was going to die if I didn't. And the days that you said no, I was okay. So it really reaffirms for me is that the times where I needed something, she actually didn't need me as much. And then other times where I moved that boundary, she needed me more. So it's that, yeah, really just that instinct and intuition, like instinct more than intuition, because intuition's almost like the messages and the stories and the brain stuff, whereas instinct, that's that mother.
Someone else on a project at the moment where we're uh, creating a bit of a system around how to download your truth, embody it before you transmit it, kind of thing. Because otherwise, yeah, you can get all sorts of
Yeah,
stuff that comes in, and you're like,
distortions. Yeah,
cool, that's a download. And I've gone and acted on those before, and it's all turned to shit. And I'm like, huh?
yeah,
But it's
yeah,
because we need to take some time to move it through this incredible machine that we live in that's like,
yeah,
is always going to give us the right answer for
yeah,
us
yeah,
because we're all so different.
yeah.
Gosh, this has been such an powerful conversation. Like we're like way over time because I could
Yeah,
just
I
feel like
was
we
looking
could
at that. I was like,
literally
okay.
scratch we haven't even talked about cow yet. No. Have you used any of your plants in goodies with her? And
Yeah, yeah. She was really resistant to anything to do with me during that time. I used a lot of stuff absently. Like as soon as she would come onto my land, I'd be like, "You're here. That gives me permission. Like you've come into my realm." So, and there would be times that she would ask me. She would say, "Mum, can you do something?" And she'd ask me to work with her. Um, and it was more that she would tap into things at times and she would know what to do. So when she would be like overdosing, she'd be like, okay, what would mum do? And she would get crystals, she would go outside, she would take her shoes off, she'd lie outside, she would drop into the earth, she might put on music and move her body. So there was things that she was emulating that she had observed me do. And I would get home sometimes and be like, there's kind of a weird crystal grid out there. What's going on? I'd be like, oh, okay, she's been here and some stuff's been going on. So she knew and she now takes herself out into nature every single day. So she uses the beach, she uses the bush. She's really connected into her own intuition and instincts. And um, yeah, she's kind of filled her house with plants and sticks and branches and all sorts of things. And um, yeah, she's really healing her body. So she can feel in her body where the damage was done. And she's really actively working on how do I rewire my brain? How do I clear my liver? How do I work with my fascia to release these traumas? So she's doing all of these things that she kind of had seen me do. And she also knows that she can tap into any of those plants, whether she's taking them, whether she's just accessing them energetically. Um, and what I found throughout that was that her understanding of connection to nature was the thing that kind of resourced her when she was completely dysregulated. So what I understand now is that when we look at mental health systems and they're in a room and they're medicated and they're, in a building and there's some windows and that's it. Like I went to the psychiatric ward to visit her one time and I walked in and I was like, oh God, I just want to put on some music and get everyone out in that tiny little courtyard and get them moving their bodies.
Mm,
Um, but I'm also really aware of when I'm holding a dance and I'm working with people who have come voluntarily and they have full autonomy over their bodies, it would be a completely different ball game to go into a psych ward or to be working with a whole lot of people who have meth addiction. Like it would be naive of me to go in and go, I can do the same thing as what I do there because not just for them, but also for like I hear people talking about going into mental health wards, and I'm like, you would get fucked over. Like the energies and the entities that would come at you, do
mm.
you have the scope to even know how to navigate those?
Yeah.
Because it's not your
Roots.
average
Yeah.
person that you're dealing with here. Like there's a whole different manipulation and the entity of methamphetamine will find whatever cracks are in you and it will work its way in. So not just with the person who's using, but everyone who's around them. So it's this real it looks for any wound and it enters and it just so it's you've got to be really, really aware of that. So
Mm.
the biggest thing for me would be people going into nature, like actually really going into nature and learning how to drop in and absorb themselves into the environment and letting this human body have that, like to tap into that and like a
Recalibrate.
battery. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Because that's what I was saying to my husband the other day, what became really clear for me in Bali, like everyone's running a retreat in Bali right now. And I went there on holiday and for a retreat and was thinking I would run retreats there. And then I'm like, well, not at any of the places I saw
yeah.
because I have to be in wild, pure, untouched nature. I mean, we're spoiled here in New Zealand. We can find
Yeah.
that everywhere, right? Because that is where people reconnect to that frequency of innocence and purity, that untouched part of themselves where they remember that actually, despite all of this, you know, this is the
Mm,
truth of who they are. That's what nature gives us. Hey,
yeah.
so have you to wrap this up, is there or have you seen or imagined, daydreamed even any future or bridge around how your journey, the medicine that you have walked yourself and your daughter through, this system that you can see that's all we have right now, which isn't really working either. And like you say, you can't go into there and do what you do. What is the middle ground or the future evolution of this? Can you have
Yeah,
seen
I
it?
have I have envisaged that over and over and over, like a holistic rehab center, like that actually isn't about because my daughter did rehab like 8 or 9 times, and it's this real like, how do you meet conflict? How do you, these sort of tools which are useful, but it didn't actually address, first of all, why are we using? It's always a
Mhm.
trauma. There's a trauma. We're self-medicating. And when you
Yes.
can understand that people are self-medicating, it gives you a bit of compassion for, okay, there's something going on here that's so painful that they're doing whatever they can to remove themselves from it. And people do it with everything, whether it's scrolling, sex, shopping,
Well, what we
drinking.
talked about it at the start,
Yeah,
right? We
yeah,
left our bodies, we
yeah,
abandoned the
yeah,
house,
yeah,
and we're
yeah,
living over here trying to
yeah,
function as a mother in a
yeah,
world where
yeah,
we're not actually inhabiting our bodies, right? So we
yeah,
can't sit in judgment of
yeah,
however people choose to do it. Is like
yeah,
there's a lot of
yeah.
people doing it in all sorts of
Yeah. So
ways.
it's sort of like how, like, yeah, some kind of place where the first thing for me would be just giving people those opportunities to drop into their body and to step out because we need to have, when you're in overwhelm in your body, of course you're going to step out. So it's like using, like, what are some healthy tools for stepping out? Like if you're going to go and have a cup of tea, you're going to go for a swim, or you're going to scroll on your phone for a while. Like these are all things that we need. Like we need to have little moments. Someone might have a glass of wine. Like we all do it in a small degree, and recognizing that I'm self-soothing because something's happened. So I'm going to self-soothe for a while, and then I'm going to come back to
Mm.
what was the thing that happened. And then I'm going to move my body, or I'm going to drop into the earth, or I'm going to journal, I'm going to art, or I'm going to do whatever I need to process the thing. So I'm really, really big on people learning how to be in their bodies, but also understanding that you're alive, you've survived every single thing, not just 25% of the time or 80% of the time, 100% of the time, your body has got you through. So whether you think you've done a shit job or not, you have 100% succeeded.
Mm.
100% success. You're alive, you've survived, your body has done whatever it needed to get you through those situations. And I watch people go, oh my God, I didn't get it wrong. I've
Yeah.
survived. So that's sort of like the first thing is whatever you did it in the way that you had the capacity to at the moment to survive whatever it was that was in you. And now, how do we know that you've already got it? Your instinct, the part of you that, like the biological part of you that wants to stay alive, has succeeded. Now, how do we work with it to give you a better quality? We don't want to just survive. How can we thrive? And that's where you start to work through the body with nature and bring yourself back to its authentic state, which is like we are animals, we are nature. How do we tap into cycles, nature, the environment, feeling our own cycles and going, okay, there's all these bits and I'm going to survive no matter what comes at me.
So freaking powerful.
Mm.
I've got to have you back another time, I think, because I've got so much more I want to ask you. But that was incredible, amazing. I feel it makes me feel like hopeful, excited, positive. I can see exactly what you're talking about. I can see people coming back. I can see it's not only just like what these people are going to overcome within themselves and then ripple out into their families, but this is actually deep, deep healing for the earth herself.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
when we
Absolutely.
when we do this kind of work on land and
Yeah.
you'll be using your beautiful plants and is this in a
Mm.
dream that you have like for something that you want to create or co-create? Like let's throw it out there if anybody else
Yeah,
out there
yeah, yeah, yeah.
have money
It just
resources or we're welcome.
was, yeah, yeah, oh, totally. It was just such a big concept that I was like, I don't even know where to start. And where I have started is on my own land. I've just created a kawakawa birthing womb. So we pass through some stones and we walk through the bush and then we pass through some pillars, and that's the cervix, and then we come into a circle of kawakawa. And I just opened that last weekend. We have 14 women gather here, and we co-created. So we just danced, or we painted, or we just did whatever we felt like in that moment. But opening up that birthing space was this real like this is the beginning and it's a place to really incubate. And it was sort of the energies that we brought in was stone and bone. So the stone is that like coming from the core of the earth and that physical, the tension, the pressure, the heat, and moving towards the surface of the earth, towards the light. And then the bone was the ancestral stuff. It's the humanness, the birth and death of everything. And we just kind of brought those energies into it. And so I'm just having things here where we're primarily women because that's most of the people that I want to work with or that do want to work with me. And so we just gather here and we just let whatever is there arise. And as time progresses, I will do more specific things. But I've really been working on this land here. And, I would love to have a permanent structure where I can really hold places so that people can deep dive. So that's been a big problem up here is finding affordable venues. There's not a lot of money up here. And, I just do it for koha because it's like the people who are wanting it don't have the money. And then that puts me in a position where I'm like, oh, but I really need some money. But at the moment, it just feels
Okay.
really, really
Well,
good
we're
to be
transmitting
doing.
that
Yeah,
transmitting that
yeah,
out there now that we
yeah.
desire and we're calling in resources because
Mm,
what an incredible, incredible offering space potential for building a new system which actually serves people and actually creates healing instead of let's keep you alive and send you out the door to just recycle this whole trauma loop. Oh my gosh, so many synchronicities. I live here in a land with a magic portal with the Kawa forest and a whole lot of stones and bones too. So I want you to come and have a play date here with me.
I always need somewhere that's like nice in Auckland.
Wow, yes. See my kids to move out. We'll turn the house into a retreat centre. Love you guys though, don't move out. Oh my gosh, Tia, that's like super amazing. So where can people find you? What's the best way for them to connect with you if they want to reach out to you about anything that we've discussed today and how you could serve them?
Probably my website. I'm kind of the social media things, there's so much about it that I'm like just the energy of it. So I try not to use it a lot. I just find myself getting pulled into this vortex that feels really uncomfortable in my body. So my website, so www.nativehealingherbals with an S on the end, .co.nz, and then emails, my cell phone number's on there. I am on Facebook and Instagram, Tia Soma Wairua. And
so reach out and have an actual kōrero is what we're saying here. And it's interesting, isn't it? I think a lot of us are going to be moving away from the online space a little bit, if not a lot, in the next 2 years. I said it, I'm predicting it, I'm calling it. We're craving that in-person connection. We'll be going back to old school. So get on the phone and speak to each other. How refreshing. Amazing. We'll put all of those links underneath. So we'll leave it there for today, Tia. Thank you so much for being here, for being so raw, so real, so open, so vulnerable. I think this is a conversation that can open up a lot for a lot of people. We'll also add under this in the show notes some resources for those that are in crisis that need to access help. And just incredible. Your story, your fire, your raw truth, your power, and your deep devotion to embodiment are a portal for all of us, I think. So let's let this conversation be a reminder of what it means to really live in our bodies fiercely, honestly, and fully. Thank you for being here and for sharing this space with us today. If something in this episode stirred, opened, or resonated within you, I invite you to follow the podcast and share it with your soul family. Please send us some love and give us a 5-star review if you loved it today. Your listens, shares, and reviews help this work ripple outward where it's meant to land. For deeper connection, you can visit debbielimcreative.com or find me on Instagram at debbielimcreative. And I'd really love to hear what moved or awakened for you in this conversation today. One final reminder, you're not here to fit into the old world. You're here to birth a new one through your body, your creativity, and your frequency.